Hello, this is Forefront Frequently Asked Questions. When should I use exclude proficiency on an assessment? This can be kind of a complicated question. It gets at the idea of what you're collecting the data for. Is it reporting to families, formative assessment, guiding instruction, or a combination of all of the above? We generally recommend that you include all data that you put in Forefront, that you don't exclude things from proficiency. When we're talking about the proficiency, anytime you're seeing that body of evidence by standard for a student, this is where that proficiency is being calculated. So there's one big consideration why we encourage you to include all the data, and that is that within Forefront, recent data has the most weight. So we're not a flat average of proficiencies. So if a student doesn't do great on a pre-assessment, so here's a great example, but they make progress over time, and by the post-assessment they're proficient, that proficiency is going to reflect their current work and where they are right now, which is why it's important to put the dates in correctly. We generally think that it's most helpful to have more data. So here with this student, we can see a positive trend because we have that beginning proficiency there. We can see that the student's making progress through the course of the unit. Similarly here, when we think about guiding instruction, when we have this proficiency almost as a flag for the student of there's something going on and they're not understanding this question. So when we see this like real challenge and then that kind of quick turnaround in progress, it shows that maybe it was something about the way the question was asked or something there. And that having that proficiency there on the pre-assessment and not excluded allowed the teacher to catch that when we're thinking formative assessment, when we're thinking planning for instruction. Having pre-assessments are usually the ones people talk about excluding, again, just gives us this larger picture of where the student's at. So we can see that while the student is not yet proficient on the standard, they're making progress towards proficiency. So when we have more evidence, we can see the student isn't where we want them to be at yet, but they are making positive motion in the right direction. So by having that pre-assessment in, we just see more data. If you did want to exclude the data, which I know I've just encouraged you not to, the way to do it is with this 3-dot menu, and you can exclude assessments from the proficiency. Again, because we weight most recent data most heavily, if you're going back a long time, it's not really going to make a difference in the student's current proficiency. It's just going to take away that data point when you look at the body of evidence. That being said, there is one case that we would encourage you to exclude data if it makes sense. So unit 2 is done, right? We've got all the assessments in here, so we have a pretty comprehensive view of that student. Let's say you're getting ready to meet with families and you've just given the unit 3 pre-assessment or whatever pre-assessment of the next unit. I actually only have data in here for one student. But if you're getting ready to meet with families and you've just given a pre-assessment, it might be a good idea to toggle off that proficiency or to toggle off that assessment counting towards proficiency, just because if your families aren't familiar with formative assessment or pre-assessments, that can be kind of confusing for them. That being said, after I met with those families, I would just toggle that back on, and then I would have that data point as I'm moving forward and planning my instruction. So those are some considerations about including versus including things for proficiency and how to do it.